Good morning and welcome to Card Radar. Today we're going to be talking about which cards you should be keeping on your radar. We're going to be going through stuff that came out Reoquary Remastered. We're going to be talking about, just some lands, some other things, maybe some hidden gems you didn't know, and of course we're going to be talking about Modern Horizons 3 and what cards to be keeping your eye on there. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so before we begin with all the normal, fun cards to put on the radar, we need to talk about your vegetables. As a responsible Magic player, it's very important you eat your vegetables. And what does that mean? It means buying lands. The lands, your land base, are the backbone to the entire deck. You need these to do anything. Whether this is constructed or commander, you need to be buying up the pain lands. These recently got a reprint in the Brothers War and Dominaria United. They're all less than $5. They go in every dual deck for commander. You can consider them for 3-color decks. I think they're super easy to fit there. Once you get 4 or 5, you probably have enough duals that you don't need to worry about these. But these are so cheap. They work with budget decks. They work with even higher budget decks are happy to play them as they're untapped duals, and a little life loss isn't that big a deal. Again, these are all under $5. They also work great. They're all standard legal right now. Yeah, so those are the pain lands, and yeah, they're really good pickups right now. Yeah, solid reprints right now. I wouldn't say you need to go stock up on them, but if you need them or you're looking to do some mana-based work, definitely check these out. Next up, we have the fast lands. This was a cycle that used to be very expensive, but we just got them printed both in Phyrexia All Will Be One, and then the cycle got finished in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. What does that mean? Well, it means that a $15 Spire Bluff Canal is now $2. I think all of these lands are under $3. These are not quite as good for commander. They're mostly tap lands unless they're in your opening hand, which isn't that great. Obviously, CDH really likes these just because they're trying to play as quick as possible. So opening hand mana being untapped is really important, and obviously being duals are really strong. But for constructed play, these are all legal and standard all the way back to modern and legacy, but they still see play. I would say modern, pioneer, standard, really strong land cycle. Again, all of these are $3 and under. Never been a better time to pick these up if you're looking to get into a constructed format. Modern starting up its RCQ season in August, so if you're looking to do that or you're just playing Pioneer or Standard, it doesn't matter. This is a good land cycle. You should pick up this land cycle if you're playing any amount of constructed. If you're playing Commander, ignore this land cycle unless you're playing CDH. Then you don't need me to tell you what you're doing. It's CDH. Everyone has a primer for their deck, so you know what lands to put in there and all that jazz. Shocklands just got reprinted in Reoquary Remastered, sitting in that $10 to $15 range for the most part. There are a few that are kind of outside that, but that's okay. Obviously, this is a land cycle that's very powerful. They don't print this very often. It was a bummer that Ravnica didn't do as well as we would have liked. They talk about it in the earnings call how some other sets did really well in Q1, and specifically don't talk about Ravnica, so we can apply that this set didn't do so hot. So unfortunate it didn't move the needle on the singles all that much. We also had that reprint a bit ago in Infinity in that special treatment that also didn't really move the needle at all. So that means that shocks are just kind of where they are, still expensive, relatively. It's mostly because you need play sets of these that they can get pricey. We are moving into the next RCQ season in August, and it is modern. Now, the current season, which is Pioneer, shocks are legal. People are playing them. But I think with the hype that Modern Horizons 3 is going to be bringing to the format, obviously, and also that Modern, I think, is just a more popular format, the shocks may start to creep up. So I would say, hey, take a look at shock prices right now if you're in for them. I think they're at okay prices. They're not great prices, but they may start to trend upwards when we hit that modern RCQ season. So just be aware, keep these on your radar. Finally, in your vegetable category, we have the fetch lands. Specifically, the fetch lands that just came out in Modern Horizons 3. These were $60 cards, $40 cards, pretty expensive. They have all come way down already. Release just happened, and we're already seeing, you know, Wooded Foothills down in $10. We're seeing Flooded Strand down in $10. Really good prices for these cards. MH2, yeah, Modern Horizons 2. We saw the first half of the fetches get reprinted there, and a lot of the fetches went down to the 10 to 20 range. You know, these were, again, Scalding Tarn was like $100, so seeing that at 20 was awesome. We saw Marsh Flats and Arid Mesa at 10. Maybe you could sneak one under 10, but for the most part, they were in that 10 to 20 range, and they've stayed there. So with fetch lands, I would say this is a great time to pick them up if you need them. We're not in any hurry here, especially if you're buying them for constructed and you're not sure which decks you need to build or what you want to play yet. Totally fine just to kind of hang out and just watch these. I wouldn't expect them to go too much under 10. People will just snatch them up. But if you're hurting for cash, don't feel like you've got to go out and buy these right away. They're going to stick this way for years. They're going to print the crap out of MH3. They did so with MH2, so there's no reason to believe that this set isn't going to do any better or worse. In fact, I think this set is going to get more purchased than MH2, just because MH2 kind of came off that COVID thing. You know, people were still trying to figure out, you know, just getting back into Magic. I think a lot more people are playing Magic these days, you know, due to whatever reasons, whether it's popularity or all those secret layers, extra IP, you know, you name it. I think more people are playing Magic right now, which means that more people had their eye on MH3 when this was coming out, hyped, watching videos, all that kind of stuff. So we're seeing, I think, a lot of purchasing power with MH3. But none of that matters. The point is that the fetches are cheap and they're going to stay cheap. So get them as you need them. If you want to fill out the binder and just get it done, I think that's fine. That's probably what I'm going to do, because I have old price history in my brain and I remember Bloodstained Mires at 60. So getting them at 10 feels awesome. But if you don't need them, you can just wait and watch, and you're going to be fine too. Okay, good job everyone. You got your veggies out of the way. Now we're going to talk about some cards from Ravnica Remastered, the set that didn't do so well. There were still a couple cool things that you might want to pick up out of that set. So yeah, we're going to check them out. First off is Karn the Great Creator, and oh boy, did this card plummet. Was it due just to the reprint? No. This card got banned in Pioneer after being one of the top cards in one of the top meta decks, namely Mono Green. Because it's banned, it dropped all the way to like $7-8. Now, is it going to stay here? I don't think so. The card still sees play in Modern. It's still a very powerful card, letting you pull cards from Exile or your sideboard. So I would say, if this is something you're looking for, obviously it's kind of a niche card. Not every deck wants Karn the Great Creator, but the ones that do play it, it still sees play in Tron. You know, Coffers, I think, plays it. There's some one ring builds in Modern floating around that also utilize Karn. So the card sees some play, and it's starting to trend up a little bit. So yeah, if this is a card you're interested, I would check that one out. Next is Life from the Loam. A great card in very niche decks. Again, you know, not every deck is going to want this. This is why this has kind of got a nice little price correction come Ravnica. But if your deck does want it, it was in the $15 to $18 range. Now it's down under 10. So if this is something you're looking for, I think this is a great pickup. Teferi Time Raveler, or Teferi the Fun Raveler. This card is so obnoxious to play against. It basically stops your opponent from interacting with you on your turn. It lets you interact a lot more on the opponent's turn, letting you cast your sorceries then. But this is mostly seen in combo decks in Modern or control decks in Modern. Stuff that's looking to either just prevent you from doing things and slowing you down, or preventing you from interacting with them while they try and combo off. Now, neither of these cards are super in the meta, or neither of those archetypes are really in the meta right now. This card's also, because of that, not in the meta. And that's kind of, you know, if you're a control player or you're a combo player, you know that in your heart of hearts, that's what you like to do. Now is kind of the time to pick these cards up. You don't want to pick up the cards once they perform really well, unless you're, you know, just don't care about cost and you're just going to buy whatever is the best thing before you go to a tournament. But if you're always playing these archetypes and you just want to pick up the cards on the cheap while they're out of the meta, this is the time to pick them up. So if you are a dirty control player or a silly combo player, I would say that giving Teferi Time Raveler a look right now is probably a good idea. Cryptghast. This one is more of a commander card, less of a modern card, even though it just got reprinted into modern. But we got a nice decrease in price. It was trending back over $10, and with the Ravnica reprint, we're under 10 again. So this is averaging around $6. Really great in anything where you have a high density of swamps. So your mono black decks or decks where you've got black and one other color, so stuff like that. This is just another Cabal Coffers effect. So works really well with Urborg. So it's just a redundant thing to have. When you're playing these kind of trying to power out tons and tons of mana in black, this is just one of the tools in your tool belt for it, and under $10 is really nice for it. As you can see on the graph, this card doesn't stay down very long. It usually adjusts its way back up. It's very popular. People like to play it. As I said, it's a staple in those mono black decks. So if you've got a mono black deck, consider picking this one up. Next, we're moving on to some hidden gems. These are cards that, well, basically are getting huge price reductions because the frame is just massively disliked by everyone. Not, everyone I've talked to, the best they can do is, I don't mind it. No one has really come out and said, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite frames. What am I talking about? Oh, it's breaking news. Yeah, the whole prosperity thing, the washed out look. If you can stomach it, and I can, I don't think it's the worst thing ever. There are some pretty hefty price reductions that have come, either from this being reprinted into standard and just, with Outlaws doing as well as it did. We had some of these cards drive prices of the whole card down, regardless of the version. Or we have these versions of the cards just drastically lower than any of the other variants. So let's take a look at some of these. First one I want to talk about is Thoughtseize. This one got a nice little decrease when the set got printed. This card was over $10, and a lot of the variants came down with the printing of this Breaking News set. The Breaking News set is the cheapest version of it, but if you don't like that, you can snag the Theros one or something for pretty close to the same price. But yeah, the whole reason this card came down is because of this whole breaking news. You can see it in the little chart over here, which is good news because this is one of the most popular cards in both Pioneer and Modern. And if you're playing black, you're probably playing 4 of these, so any reduction to that is good news. Next up is Oko, Thief of Crowns, and while the regular versions of this are going for $7, you can get this one for under $5 if you're willing to put up with the frame. If you're playing Oko, this is going to be in Commander most likely. Do you need the power level of it, or and you don't mind the art, or you're willing to spend an extra couple bucks and you're like, yes, I never want to see this frame ever. Next up is Mindbreak Trap. This card's going for $11, or you can spend the Zendikar money and get it for $40. Obviously, there's probably some damage versions. That's what that 24 is. But yeah, what a stark difference in price. Now, I don't know how many people are playing Mindbreak Trap, but if you need it, I would consider checking this version out as it's significantly cheaper. And finally, out of this set, we've got Contagion Engine. This is great in all the proliferate decks. Or if you're trying to do some -1/-1 counter shenanigans. The Scars of Mirrodin version is $12.72, and the Breaking News is $4. So if you don't want to spend an extra $8 on a card, check this one out. Honestly, this one doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty similar if you're far away, at least. The Prosperity frame has kind of an artifact vibe, so I don't think you're losing a whole lot here if you go for this cheaper version of it. I would say in terms of all the cards in Breaking News, something worthwhile to check out. I would just peruse them really quick. Maybe there's something you're looking for, because you can probably get a pretty decent deal on a card that you need, and you just have, if you're fine with this, and then yeah, you're great. You're just saving a ton of money, and that's good news. All right, so we're going to be wrapping up Card Radar with Modern Horizons 3 today. Obviously, there's tons and tons of powerful stuff in this set. This is the set that they use to rotate Modern, one of the more powerful formats we have, and because of that, a lot of new cards are coming to Commander 2 just because the power level is so high. These are cards that you probably want to look at. So we're going to start right off the bat with every single one of the MDFCs. They come in two variants. There's the tapped duels. So they kind of have a spell attached, and then they come in tapped on the land side, but they are duels, so that's really nice. Previously, all the Zendikar Risings were tapped, but they were all single color. So already a slight upgrade there. Now, the mythics from Zendikar Rising all came in untapped if you paid 3 life. And a mythic from Zendikar Rising is apparently equivalent to uncommons in MH3. That's right. All the uncommon monocolored MDFCs in Modern Horizons 3 all come in untapped if you pay 3 life. And some of these are really, really good. Sinking to Stupor is one that I really like. I would honestly wait on the price of this one. I think it'll come down, give it a little time. But it's clearly the most powerful of these MDFCs, but I really, really like all of them. I think they will fit, if not in all of your decks, in a lot of your decks. They're obviously basically free in any monocolored deck. They're almost free, and the other duels are probably pretty free in any dual color decks. I would say maybe you're playing a handful of these in 3 color, and then I would really pick and choose, if you really need a synergistic effect for any other colors for 3 or more. I would say, maybe there's something here that is useful to the archetype you're playing, synergizes with your theme or what you're trying to do. I would say give these a strong look. I don't think you really need to race out and buy a whole stack of all of them. They're uncommons, so they will be sticking around. As I said, they're going to be reprinting the crap out of MH3, so no worries there. You don't have to go, again, don't race out and buy these, but I would say if you're looking to tweak some decks, check these out. These are basically free to slot in any of your decks. Play MDFCs. They're really, really good. It's a spell, that's a land. So yeah, check those out. Next is fetches. Obviously, keep your eyes on the fetches. We talked about them already, so I'm not going to go through it again, but it stands to say, is a super powerful land cycle that they're finishing up. So if you need them, check the prices. They're going to be depressed for a few years now that we've got that full printing, just like what happened with MH2. All right, first specific card we're going to be talking about is Phyrexian Tower. And when the news broke that Phyrexian Tower was coming and going to be modern legal, most of the copies actually went up in price. So the modern one is the newest printing is actually the cheapest. I think it's sitting around like $18, $20. But I will say this: this one got printed at Mythic, and if a deck really, really takes hold and can use it, they're probably going to play. At least I would say 3 copies. It is legendary, so it's tough to say if they're going to play all 4 copies. But I know Yawgmoth, which has been at the top of the meta for Modern, has been trying it out and testing it. I know some mono black stuff is potentially looking at it. I know Dredge may be looking to use a copy or 2 of these to ramp up. This is a really, really powerful card that was originally in Urza Saga that's coming to Modern. There are a lot of implications for lands that produce more than 1 mana. In Modern, we even stuff like Sunken Citadel that came out in Lost Caverns, Vixalan is seeing some play in Titan. So a land that produces 2 mana is obviously, there's a lot of potential there. So if this is something you want, this may end up spiking. So I would definitely keep an eye on it if this is a card that you want and you're looking for. I'm not sure if this is going to go down. Now, if no decks find a home for it, this card will definitely start crashing back to where it used to be, but I don't really think that's going to be the case just because, as I said, lands that tap for 2 mana are very, very rare in Modern, so one that has as few restrictions as Phyrexian Tower does could see a lot of play, and at a Mythic printing, these cards are going to spike up if they do see a lot of meta share. Next, we've got Urza's Incubator. This card has seen a drastic price reduction, mostly because I don't think anyone's really trying to brew with this or see if there's a fit for it in Modern. We've already got Semblance Anvil that kind of does similar things, and that really doesn't see any play. So it's probably unlikely that this sees a lot of movement, at least in the constructed format. But there are a lot of Kindred decks and other types of, creature heavy decks that really like this effect in Commander, and if you need or want to play those kind of decks, then this is going to be a great pickup for you. Next, we have the Medallions. Boy, I remember when Medallions were like $30 to $40, and now we can get them for under 10. That is awesome. These are obviously 2-mana rocks that do reductions off spells as opposed to tapping for mana. So just as good as a rock that taps for mana if you're casting one spell a turn. But if you're casting multiple spells in a turn, these get a lot better. Obviously, they work better in less colors that you have, as they only reduce a certain specific color. But if this is an effect that you want, this is the time to look at these. I would say I think Ruby Storm is picking up as a meta deck in Modern, or people are trying it and having good results. So the Ruby Medallions may start to jump up, but none of the other Medallions are likely to see play. Maybe the Jet one in Mono Black, but the rest of these unlikely. So I would say, if you're not looking at the red or the black one, you can kind of hang out and wait on these. But the only one that's really seeing a lot of upward pressure put on it is the Ruby Medallion. Otherwise, I think these are pretty easy pickups. Once especially if you can get them under $5. Under 10, I'm happy. Under 5 seems like a steal. So yeah, these are great. Next, we have Toxic Deluge. This got a reprint to Modern, which is kind of crazy. We don't see a ton of sweeper play in Modern, at least right now. So this is a rare that people aren't really looking for if they're opening packs to be Modern playable. And what that means is that its price has been cut in half, and it's been cut in half already. It seems what used to be the premier black wipe has seen a lot of reprints in the last year or so. So I'd say, if you need it, go ahead and snag it. It's under $5. There's no reason not to snag it. It's pretty cheap. But if you don't need it, I would say just hang out and wait. It seems like they're putting this in a lot more Commander products, so it's totally fine if you're just hanging out and just watching the price of it. Finally, I want to round out Modern Horizons with a couple new to Modern cards that are really budget friendly that I think people may be sleeping on a little bit. The first one is Party Thrasher. This card is like less than $1, and he is both card advantage and mana reduction too. I think he's going to fit really well in cards, any deck that likes to play from exile, but even the ones that are kind of just making tokens while you cast stuff, like if you have a Talrand out or a Young Pyromancer, anything where you can generate, additional bodies to help pay for the Convoke. I think this card is just a nice little engine piece. Also, it's only 2 mana. So yeah, 2 mana little card advantage thing that helps you pay for other cards too, not just its cards in exile. Lets you pay for any cards in exile with Convoke. Yeah, I think this is a nice sleeper card. If you're playing any decks that even remotely synergize with this, I think it's a decent add to your card advantage slots. And finally, we have White of the Reoquary. Obviously, a little play on words on an old card there, but this one is really neat. One, you can attack with it and then tap it just like the old one. But this lets you sack a creature and get any land onto the battlefield tapped. This means that you can sack creatures, even if you cared about them. I would still sack them to this, but you can, you're in black, so you can sack creatures that want to get sacked, Bloodghast, Reassembling Skeletons, Stitcher Supplier, any cards that don't mind getting sacrificed and going to the graveyard, you can sack to this thing. And then you can get your Gaia's Cradle or Cabal Coffers or a fetch land. Not a fetch land, but you can get a shock land or name a utility land, Glacial Chasm, Maze of Ith. you can get it. This card can snag it. Super, super powerful and repeatable. That's really nice. Card sitting at like $2, maybe. I think people are sleeping on this one too. If you're playing this archetype, having access to just go fetch any land is really, really powerful. So yeah, I'd strongly consider looking at this guy. All right, so that wraps up Card Radar. I hope you had a good time. I hope you found some of this useful. I hope you found some cool little picks and stuff to keep your eyes on. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider subscribing or checking out some of the other stuff that I've done. I've been breaking down all the secret layers as we've gotten the previewed for the summer super drop, as well as breaking down a Modern Horizon 3 play booster contents and what kind of EV we can expect from it. So I'll see you in the next one.